Welcome to the RSI Trade of the Day. My name is Benjamin Poole, head trader here at Verified Investing, and I've got some exciting news or exciting charts for you guys. So I have some intraday charts and some daily charts that I'm looking at, and I'm going to give you some potential setups. The trade of the day yesterday didn't trigger the trade desk. For me, the previous day had seemed as if the price action was going to continue lower. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, at least not low enough for us to get a previous or an entry into a trade. However, it's still looking good. I still like $42.96. Let me go ahead and just go and go over the All right, let's go over the RSI recap. The trading desk is putting in some beautiful RSI positive divergence. So let's go ahead and share that chart layout with you guys. So here's the trade desk. So I had my upside or my entry price at $42.96. Now the relative strength index is indicating that we're oversold. Look at the price action of the trade desk. It continued to fall over. Now you're putting in a little bit of a higher high on the relative strength index and a lower low on the price action. So this is really positive for the trade desk, meaning that the sellers aren't there as much as they were in the past, leading to a potential opportunity for buying pressure to begin. This is still low pivot, $42.96. For me, that would be a great swing trade entry. And I mentioned this the other day as well, that if you can pick this thing up at $42.96, this is going to be a steal, kind of like Lululemon at the lower end of the charts with a lot of potential upside. Now, excuse me, if you're going to be a little bit more conservative, then I would make sure that as any stop below the $42.96 on a daily time frame, daily closing basis, just stop out of that and look for additional resistance levels or support levels on the downside. All right, so let's go ahead and go into Oracle. Oracle was another chart that I was looking at that has some potential downside movement. So the relative strength index is indicating to me, based on the yesterday's intraday chart patterns, that this is a weaker stock today. So it had some really fantastic earnings. It had, $4.55 billion in backlogs. But look at what happened to price action yesterday. We had this pretty sizable drop, and then the price action tried to continue higher, got up to $319, almost $320, and then slowly faded throughout the rest of the day. The price action corresponded greatly with the relative strength index. The RSI did try to break above 70 and sustain that, but as you can see, the price action continued lower. So now we got to watch for this low pivot. So we have $304.84. That's going to be the line in the sand. If price action starts dropping below that, then your next level of support on Oracle is going to be around 300. If it breaks 300, 295, and then 280. So those are my kind of levels. So if you're going to play this, if you're really bullish on Oracle, I'd wait for a pullback to about the $300 level if we can break 304. So that's what I'm seeing in the chart of Oracle. It is still a weaker stock, so you're going to also have to want to watch and see what happens tomorrow if you are long, because it could kind of give a continuation play. And as soon as selling sentiment picks up on a particular stock, that can continue to push the price even lower, as we've seen in a lot of charts. TTD is a prime example of how the market sentiment can really drive that down. All right, so AVGO, I meant to go over AVGO yesterday. This is a chart kind of like CRDO. When you get this euphoric pop, you get this beautiful green bar candle closing at the top end of the charts, meaning that price action is continually pushing that price action and getting all these buyers euphoric on a particular chart, especially when the RSI is above the 70 and you have some decent movement in the price action. This indicates for me more of a top in the markets, and that's what happened, at least temporarily for now. You had a nice pierce of this double top and then a decent fade off. And that's the same similar thing that happened to CRDO when I mentioned that you could probably get in now and add to the position and wait for a potential pullback. AVGO, I would wait for possibly a move higher. I also love the convergences of these two trend lines. So you've got this high pivot that extends from $183, secondary pivot right here at $248. Price action does pierce this level, But you've also got this upsloping trend line that connects this low pivot at $138 and secondary 244. And then price action goes inside of this trend line. Once it gets back there, as you can see, price action likes to get rejected off that level. And so based on the fact that it's gotten above both those levels, for me, that institutes a possible pullback for this particular chart. So I love the chart setup. I think it's due for a pretty significant pullback, probably coming back down to around the 308 level. All right, core and main, like I was mentioning yesterday, that this $48.07 was a pretty good level on CNM. It ended up getting a bounce. I did mention that it could go down to $46.87 and even $43 or $44 Pierce. But it did get a nice bounce off that. So if you are long on this, look at the price or the relative strength index. It's right about 20 with volatility in the price action. So this is what I love to see. I love to see price action below the 30 when the relative strength index below 30 with decent price action in the charts. And that's what CNM has given us. It's likely to bounce from these levels. All right, so there's CRCL. CRCL, Circle Internet Group, is another chart that I was noticing intraday yesterday. Look at this chart pattern. So you had this beautiful rise in the relative strength index as well as the price action. You got a decent pullback in the morning session. And then all of a sudden, you've got this additional surge in the price action. Relative strength index couldn't push back all the way above 94 to negate the negative RSI divergence. However, price action dropped, but then floated sideways. I see this oftentimes, right, where the relative strength index stays high, price action dips a little bit, and then you just got this slow grind up. Looks like it's putting in a bearish pattern, but then it just breaks above a high pivot and then exceeds that level. So then what we got to do is say, all right, the relative strength index is indicating that this is a strong stock. The price action is indicating this is a strong stock. It's following the trend. So then we got to do what we have to do is look at the daily time frame. And so that's what we're going to do on Circle. Here's the daily time frame. So now we got to look for resistance. Where could this potentially get a pullback from? And most of the time I look for relative strength indexes intraday for potential day trades. So my position size is going to be a lot heavier than if it was a swing trade. On something like CRCL, $144.20. You have this green bar pivot right here. It's not quite a topping tail, but you've also got this red bar candle. This is where the price action opened before a sell-off. Price action got rejected on that level once already. So if price action is to get up there a third time, at least intraday, you can expect a 2 to 3% pullback from that level, if not a little bit more, right? So it really depends on how price action gets up there. If it's a slow, gradual float to the upside, then you're not going to get nearly the pullback you would. However, if it shoots right up there, it could surpass that level, but then the sellers and the panic buyers in those scenarios are going to sell and push that price action down. That's kind of what happens in the charts. All right. Baidu is another chart that I was noticing yesterday. So here's what happened. Price action headed higher. This wasn't a huge move on Baidu. So that's BIDU. You had this nice price action movement up. The relative strength index obviously started higher. Got a little bit of a pullback in the price action, but the relative strength index didn't move a ton. Then relative strength index moved up, but so did price action. Got a little bit of a pullback. But notice that price action never dropped below this low pivot area at $109. Relative strength index never got below 30 until it got towards the end of the day. But still, price action was strong on the day. It stayed above the midlines, or excuse me, the lower ends of this price action. And that's what you got to watch for on a strong stock like this. This indicates that it's likely to go higher. And that's what's happening with Baidu today. So if we switch to the intraday, the daily time frame on Baidu, it's currently trading at $117.20, and it's gotten up to $118.67. So price action is matching what the relative strength index was indicating it was going to do. All right, so the other one that I was looking at is Tesla. Tesla is another strong stock on the day. It did dip below 30 a couple times, or at least one time. However, this didn't negate the price action for me because you still had this upsloping trend line that price action never got below. Relative strength index did drop, price action did drop, but you still have to look for these lower pivots, right? So you get, or excuse me, this high pivot. You have to have resistance, or excuse me, support levels in this case, break, and then price action breaking upsloping trend lines, and then you can get a flush out even with the relative strength index heading lower. But that's not what happened. It got support on that trend line and then continued higher. So then we got to do is switch to the daily time frame and see where we're going to get resistance. Right now, we're getting above a triple top. So for me, this indicates that it's a potential breakout, and we have an upside target of $378. Now, this would be more of a day trade, because the relative strength index isn't indicating that it's overbought. Price action has some consolidation. It finally broke above this resistance level. So your first level of resistance, or your next level of resistance, is going to be $378.17 with an upside potential target of $392.21. So for me, I'm looking to short this at 378.17 in the day trading room. So if you guys want to trade that with me live, join the live day trading room. But let's go ahead and just go over the RSI trade of the day. So the RSI trade of the day is going to be Baidu. So it had already gotten up to $118.67. You have this high pivot at $120.25. This is my trade of the day. Short Baidu, B-I-D-U, at 120.25. I'm going to be looking for about a $2 pullback off this level. And so I'm looking for a downside target of 118.25. So that'll give us over a 1% victory on this. Now, my stop out level is going to be a close on a 15-minute closing basis above our entry price. So if it closes above $120.25 on a 15-minute closing basis, I'm going to stop out of that trade, because then Baidu can continue higher, and I want to go ahead and protect us. So that's what I have for you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys spending your time with me. Gareth Soloway is going to be going live in less than 3 minutes, he has some additional information for you guys, different levels. I'll give you an indication of what's happening with the SPY. A couple earnings that happened yesterday. He'll give you some levels on that. And yeah, please make sure you like, subscribe, tell your friends if they want some information on how to more read the relative strength index, maybe get some intraday chart setups, and maybe some swing trades. Sometimes I give you a little bit of both. So that's what I have for you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next time in the charts. You guys have a great day. Take care.